William, thank you all the leaders on this stage. Thank you Tennesseans for giving us the opportunity to stand in the places that we stand, but I thank you as well for responding in the way that Tennesseans have. We saw it happen a few weeks ago with the tornado where the eyes of the nation saw how Tennesseans are unique and how they step up and how they respond to challenges like others may not. We have that opportunity again. And the reason that I feel confident is because we've seen it time and time again, because we're Tennesseans, and that's what we do. That's why individuals will own responsibility for their own behavior, responsible behavior. It's why companies will step up and follow guidance and suggestions. It's why businesses will do the right thing to make sure that their neighbors are safe. It's why churches will engage in their communities to protect the elderly and to assist their neighbors who have lost a job or suddenly need child care. We in state government and in local governments, in municipalities, in counties all across the state, we will do what we can to provide an environment where Tennesseans can thrive. And then I feel confident and certain that Tennesseans will do just that. We will continue our updates on coronavirus and on the impacts that it's having and the economic impacts. We've had daily press briefings on that, and we will continue to provide information because the press provides information to the people. And that is a process that is critical and that will be very important as we move forward and mitigate the spread of this disease and mitigate the economic impacts of the spread of COVID-19. So thank you all for being here. Particularly grateful for leadership, not only what they have done, but what they will continue to do in the days ahead. As has been said, our work has only just begun in addressing some of these greatest challenges, and we will all be working together with all Tennesseans to make sure that we move forward through this crisis. So happy to take your questions.
Governor, I have a two-part question. If you kind enough to answer each one individually. They both have to do with personal responsibility. There are several churches that are going to meet Sunday, some of them with elderly population. I know you're going to have to make a very clear about that, but how do you feel about that? Is that responsible? And the second thing, I had a chance to just visit with some Kroger cashiers, and some of the stories are just unbelievable. $665 of beef, 32 jars of peanut butter. People really almost creating scarcity just through what they're doing. And like you said, many Tennesseans are going to do the right thing, but then some people who are not particularly active.
Yep. I'll answer your second question first. And for those who couldn't hear, the question was about gatherings and specifically churches and grocery stores and people who panic buy and hoard. I talked to the head of the Grocers Association in our state, and we talked about the food supply. And he and grocers all across Tennessee have assured me and us that we have a stable and secure food supply chain. There is a food supply chain, there is a stability to that and a certainty around that. But the one thing that does disrupt that, even if it's temporarily and even if it creates a real challenge for the people who have to live with that temporary disruption, the thing that disrupts it is panic buying and hoarding and inappropriate behavior around the food chain. And where that happens, we need to bring that to light. You know, I'm a strong believer that people generally will want to do the right thing in these settings. We need to remind people. Oftentimes, they just don't think through that their individual behavior may in fact cost someone else their life. And that's the reality of what we're dealing with here. So churches that continue to meet and gather with elderly and putting groups of people in the same setting, quite frankly, they're risking people's lives. And there are ways to worship and there are ways to serve without congregating people. And I'm urging and challenging churches to do just that, because I do believe that anytime any business, any organization, any individual creates environments where people are congregating in big numbers, they're putting people's lives at risk. And we need to continue to get that message out there. We need to continue to remind Tennesseans that the only way we will do this is if we do this all together. I've been generally encouraged with behavior change, and as we see that happen across Tennessee, we need to encourage it. Where we see it not happening, we need to bring it to light.
Governor Lee, you've asked schools to close. What about daycares? Because those workers may be some of the same concerns as teachers.
Yeah, so we are talking to governors all across the state all across the country about how they're dealing with daycare. And when a school closes, we have real serious daycare issues. We're working with daycare centers. As you know, we announced the other day that we're pushing out through our Department of Human Services $10 million to assist daycare facilities that we currently are in contact with and that we have a connection to, that we oversee from the Department of Human Services. We are pushing $10 million out to those daycare centers to address the challenges that they face. So it's important that daycare centers, determine ways to keep children in groups of 10. We're actually talking to officials about utilizing schools for daycare centers in a way that we can limit the number of children in a classroom and not have children congregate, but provide opportunity for parents to continue to go to work. It's a real crisis for people who suddenly find children at home when they both work, or if it's a single parent and they're off working. We're also working with the faith community to, and I have said before, and through our Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives, we're imploring churches to adopt a school that's closed, if it's in your community, and to work with the parents and the families in those schools to assist in directing children to appropriate daycare that will provide safety and security for the kids, but at the same time, safety from the disease through social distancing. So it's a big topic across this country, and we're working to address it.
Governor, you're using your authority as governor to implore people to cease to do these things. But, for example, with churches and other things, at what point could it become necessary for you to step in and say, no gatherings over X amount of people?
Yeah, so we're never going to be able to mandate people's behavior in their homes and in their yards and in their neighborhoods. Because you never can enforce behavior that you mandate. But nothing is ever off the table. I think we all know that. We don't know what's coming. We don't know the enormity of this crisis. There are decisions that we make today that we might not have made a week ago, and there may be decisions that we make in 2 weeks that we wouldn't make today. And I will say this too: there is a right time to make decisions. That's the real difficulty in discernment. But I believe to the degree that we can curb behavior and change behavior and find responsible behavior taking place across our state, to the degree that we can do that without mandates, it's better for everyone. So that's going to be our approach. When people don't respond to mandates, then obviously they force officials to consider other options. But there's a real balance between preserving the economy and not the economy. When we talk about the economy, we're talking about people who don't get a paycheck because their restaurant closes. My daughter works in a restaurant that closed. She lost her job, which for her, she's a single. She has a lot of resources to support, family support, to take care of her. But she also reminded me of 2 workers in her restaurant, a married couple who have 4 children, and the day that restaurant closed, they both lost their jobs, and they're in a very difficult position today because of the closure of that restaurant. Now, every day that we can keep a business open and that business accepts the responsibility of appropriate social distancing and protecting their employees from the spread of this disease, every day that we can do that, we strike the right balance between preserving the economy to the degree that we can and protecting our citizens from this disease. And that's the efforts that we're going to be making going forward. Joel.
Governor, yesterday the New York Times reported the Trump administration has apparently asked states to stop sharing unemployment data for fear of freaking out the markets. Your administration has continued to share that at least this week. Will you comply with that request?
Yeah, I haven't. The president hasn't made that request of me or our administration. So, I'd be happy to look into that. But I think unemployment data can be helpful for a number of reasons. So we haven't had that conversations. But
will you buck that if that is asked of you?
Well, I always, if someone's going to ask me something, I kind of want to know why they're asking me to do it and what the reasoning behind that is. And I'm always willing to listen to reasons for doing things. So I want to listen. If the Trump administration is requesting us to do something, there may be likely a very valid reason for that. But we'll have those conversations.
Governor, your recent executive order eliminates the waiting period for unemployment benefit and also allows people who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 to qualify even if they're going to go back to work. But I'm wondering, what else can the state do to help these people in the long term, especially those people in the service industry that lost their jobs and may not know when they're going to come back?
Well, there are unemployment benefits, as you say. There is temporary assistance for needy families. We have raised the threshold of, we've raised the threshold of the amount of money that a family can earn and still receive TANF funding. That is in assistance to the traditional TANF funding that is underway. We're working with the federal government to loosen the restrictions and the regulations around SNAP benefits, which are a supplemental nutrition assistance program for needy families. We are providing small business loans for small companies that employ many of these workers that we want to keep from losing their jobs. Those business loans are up to $2 million per business. And by the way, they apply for nonprofits as well, because we need our nonprofits to be out there doing the work that they're doing. We have, in this approved budget that the legislature passed, we've pushed $200 million out through a grant process to every county in Tennessee and to every municipality in Tennessee. So those $200 million will be able to be used for targeted relief programs in individual cities and counties, because we know that what's happening in Giles County is really different than what's happening in Shelby County, and so the needs there are different, and those individual leaders can make decisions about relief for their folks. And there is a federal package of relief that is making its way through Congress that will be substantial. Governors are advocating for block grants with regard to that relief. Now, whether it'll come that way or not, we're certainly asking for it, because we want to have as much flexibility as possible around the billions of dollars that will be flowing to states. Those are a number of things that we're going to be doing to try to alleviate the economic impacts. And the conversation we had just a minute ago about balancing that closure of businesses with mitigation of the spread of the disease, that's something we're working really hard to keep as many people as we can employed for as long as we can, and at the same time keep our public safe. I have a conversation with the federal delegation today. Sam, go ahead.
You talked about helping restaurants and small businesses like that. If the House refused to pass an amendment last night that would give them a 2 or 3 month break on sales taxes and think about the drink taxes, would that not be a good place to start?
So what we do is we don't take any idea off the table. We are standing up in our administration an economic task force to begin to look seriously for the months ahead at how it is that we can provide targeted relief. Obviously, the legislature weighed that and determined that was not the best way to go. But there are a lot of alternatives that we can consider. And some of them, there are, in this kind of a situation, you look at 10 options, 10 good options, and you choose which is the best. So we're going to be looking for the best options that provide for financial stability for our state and at the same time provide for targeted relief for businesses.
By the time a decision is made, though, any concern that those businesses will no longer exist?
We make decisions every hour, Sam, about what we're going to do for individuals and for businesses and for organizations across the state. This state government is moving in rapid speed, just like the federal government is, and we're pleased with the progress that is being made, and we are seriously concerned about every single small business in the state, and we're going to make decisions as rapidly as possible as we can to help them out.
Yeah,
You want to
go
do
ahead and open it up to the phone. If you'd be able to state your name and your outlet and then proceed with your question.
Good afternoon, Natalie. I wanted to follow up on clarification about what exactly you all are requesting from CMS. Is it an 1130 file like Florida wants to have received? And if so, that waiver does not actually pertain to the uninsured.
I heard almost all that question, Natalie. That if so, that question
Our conversations with CMS and what we're doing for the uninsured.
the question is what are we doing with regard to conversations with CMS and the uninsured? So we are in the process of talking with and asking for some clarity so that we can make a request for a waiver that would allow us to use Medicaid dollars to serve the uninsured population for treatment around COVID-19. It would be targeted treatment for the uninsured that's specifically tied to this particular disease, and we're in the middle of that conversation. Right now, we're trying to get clearance and guidance from them so that we can make the appropriate request.
Governor, have you all applied for any kind of waiver with that, or do you know the name of the program or waiver you all are seeking?
Yeah, if I had the TennCare director up here, we could get that detail, but I don't know the name of the waiver program associated with. I just know that is the conversation with CMS to accomplish that for the uninsured in our state.
Thank you.
Let's keep on the. We'll get back to the room in a second.
Any others on the phone?
Governor, it's Kim. My question is about last night, lawmakers failed to pass a bill that would make it easier for local officials to meet electronically rather than in person. I'm curious what has been your response and what legislative leaders and maybe your administration is planning to do to maybe help out local governments right now who are counting on that bill to make it through the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so the challenge there is to provide for local jurisdictions, local counties and local municipalities to meet and to govern, to do so in a way that that provides open government, which is incredibly important. We need to be able to balance that, and not balance. We need to provide open government and at the same time provide logistics for these governments to meet in the midst of this crisis, so they don't gather together in groups that create a public health hazard. We are currently working with the Attorney General's office, with the Comptroller's office, through our office to try and determine a way that we can construct an executive order that will accomplish all of that. And when we feel comfortable that all three of those pieces are accomplished, then we think we're going to be able to give some guidance and opportunity for local governments to meet in the midst of the crisis.
Would that be like an extension of what you did on the Border Patrol yesterday?
It would be similar in that the Border Patrol is a little bit different in the requirements around the open government there, but it would be similar. We're looking exactly at how we uphold that requirement and obligation we have for open government and allow these folks to meet at the same time. Well, the executive order that we issued yesterday actually changes the regulatory rules around hospital beds and which beds can be utilized. So once we've signed that executive order, then we have access to additional hospital beds as a result of the loosening of those restrictions. And some of those may come in these rural hospitals. So yes, we're in the process of assessing where those beds are and can we utilize those. As I reported yesterday, we have about double the capacity of available licensed beds in this state than what we're currently using. It's actually over double capacity. They're not all staffed. In fact, the majority of the excess capacity is not staffed for obvious reasons, and that's a challenge that we will be meeting in the days ahead. But the executive order yesterday actually addressed that too, restricted regulations on healthcare providers so we can improve the number that will be available to staff those open beds. So there's an all-out effort to find beds and equipment and healthcare workers, and we're encouraged on all those fronts.
Let's go back here.
There's a lot of downtown business owners that are questioning why there hasn't been a state mandate to shut down other restaurants and bars. Do you see that in our future, and why hasn't that been done yet?
Yeah, so I addressed a little bit of that earlier, but I'll put it differently. Mandating the closure of a business, it means mandating the elimination of a paycheck for hardworking Tennesseans who have families and obligations to meet. It's a very serious thing to mandate the closure of a business. We also have a very serious disease that is potentially affecting the lives of Tennesseans, and there's a tremendous balance in mandating the elimination of paychecks and mandating behavior to minimize the spread of this disease. That is why that is not an easy decision, and why we will take it day at a time moving forward, because we want to do we want to have that right balance, and that's why we have not mandated closures of businesses to date.
Do we have any questions for the leadership before we wrap up today?
I'm a little bit confused at how we suddenly went from a week ago not recognizing that there was a reason for temporary recess. You guys talked about the tornado, but last Thursday said that it was important to keep maintaining business as usual. But then suddenly on Sunday, it sounds like there was a meeting off-site, possibly the governor's residence, that expedited this 5-day plan. Can the leadership talk about that at all?
I'll make one comment, and I'll let you speak to it. One of the things I've found in the last 2 weeks is that things change daily, and that what we knew today is not what we will know tomorrow, and that the decisions that we make this week may easily be different than the decisions that we make next week. I'll say that for myself and for changes that we have advocated for along the way, but I'll let speakers address.
Thank you, Governor. Joel, as we kind of had this question from you, I think almost every single day this week, the response doesn't change. So we've been looking to reassess and monitor the situation on a daily basis, sometime hourly basis, and you make the decision that you do at that point in time that you think is best to continue. As you know, we have said that time and time again. On Friday, we worked with the Lieutenant Governor's office about with the interns, about people who are over the age of 60, and we continue to evaluate the situation as it's evolved. And it's evolved even since Sunday, since last week, since Monday this week. And so we will continue to assess and continue to go forth. We wanted to make sure that we fulfilled our constitutional duty as well. And so one of the things that we talked about was about making sure that we could pass a balanced, conservative budget that will allow us the opportunity, in case something happens, we don't get back in June, to fulfill our duty until we can get back, so that the state of Tennessee can continue to move forward, and allowing the governor to have the capability within the budget to protect Tennesseans, their communities, and do what he feels like he needs to do as he monitors and assesses the situation.
Let's let Governor or Lieutenant Governor McNally answer the question.
I'll be real brief. We have to maintain flexibility. As Speaker Sexton said, the decisions we make today, we find that we have to alter tomorrow And we have to be flexible. Originally, there were just a few cases, and gradually that increased. And as it increased, we increased our ability to close earlier. And first we started letting off the interns and people that had pre-existing conditions or were elderly, and we kind of moved down the line there. But thank you.
Final question, Sir Drew.
So what will happen with the legislative employees during this recess? Are they going to be able to work from home? Are they going to still get paid? Like what's going to be the future for them?
I can only speak for the Senate side, and we intend for them to work from at home, to use their iPads to access email, to keep up with constituent requests, and to refer people if they want to meet, say, to ask them to just give me a call at home, and I'll be available most of the time at home, but I'll let Speaker Sexton let you know what they're doing on the House side. And they will be paid. It will be work from home pay.
Let me just reiterate, as we've gone through this process from whatever day you want to start till now, we have been in constant communication with the governor, with his administration, with the lieutenant governor, and our House leadership and Senate leadership on how to progress as we move forward. It's been a wonderful experience to be working with someone like the lieutenant governor, trying to make the best decisions that we can make as a General Assembly as we move forward. The decision that we've made is in conjunction with what the Senate has made as far as allowing the employees to work from home as we continue to go from that scenario. And we will continue making those decisions as we go forward. At the end of the day, we are working in unison with one another and making those decisions jointly as we go forward. And we will continue to do that as we move forward, as well as continuing to provide the leadership that the governor needs of us, or the opinions, and supporting him in anything that he does to protect the citizens of the state of Tennessee.
Governor, do you want to conclude, and then we'll have to adjourn?
I did want to mention one thing. Tennessee and the United States and all the countries throughout the world are at war with this virus, and the people on the front line this time are the healthcare workers and people involved in public safety. And please keep them in mind as we go forward, and certainly their prayers for them and anything you can do to help their families, whether it's helping with taking one of the children while the healthcare workers at work, just anything you can do to help. But thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Thank you again for all being here. I want Tennesseans to know that those of us on this stage, along with folks all across the state, are seeking wisdom and discernment about very difficult decisions that impact the people of Tennessee. And we also encourage every Tennessean to do the same. We do know that we will get through this. We do know that we will move so in a way that protects our citizens and that mitigates the impacts on them to the degree that is possible for us. But that really is up to Tennesseans, and we encourage you to be a part of that. We encourage you to pray for your neighbors who lose their jobs, who are in a very difficult financial position, or who are sick, or who in the future may lose a loved one, and to pray for your leaders who do seek that wisdom and discernment that decisions will be made that will be in the best interest of all Tennesseans. We will resume on Monday with communications more around the disease itself and what our state is doing through our Departments of Health and Human Services and Labor and Workforce to provide an environment that is attacking this COVID-19 disease, but we will close our comments today for now. Thank you.